So in this video, I'd like to explore with you 5 things that I like about the Baldwin neighborhood of Cambridge, Massachusetts. So we're looking here at the neighborhood on Google Maps, and it's this wedge-shaped triangle, and it's found between Harvard Square and Porter Square. So here's the neighborhood of Baldwin. Now this neighborhood was known as the Agassiz neighborhood until 2021, when the Cambridge City Council voted to change the name. The Harvard Swiss academic Agassiz has a checkered past with regard to his beliefs about races, and for this reason it was decided to change the name to Baldwin in honor of Maria Baldwin, a black educator who gives her name as well to the Cambridge K-8 school found in the neighborhood at the corner of Oxford Street and Sacramento. So it's now known as Baldwin, but if you look it up on Google Maps, you're still going to look up Agassiz to find the map that we're looking at here on the screen. So the boundaries of the neighborhood you can see here run along Kirkland Street to the south, just above Harvard Square here. And then as you head north on Massachusetts Avenue, you're running along another boundary of the neighborhood as you approach Porter Square. And then the neighborhood line to the east, if you will, that separates the neighborhood from Somerville, you can see here runs along more or less Beacon Street. The line is tucked in just inside of it. So Beacon Street, Kirkland Street, and Massachusetts Avenue define the borders of the neighborhood between Harvard Square and Porter Square. So it's a great residential neighborhood, and I want to share with you 5 things that I like about it. Well, first on my list would be that it is actually easy access, if you're in this neighborhood, to both Porter Square to the north and Harvard Square to the south. And of course, running along Massachusetts Avenue between the two squares are a number of shops, services, and restaurants. There's also a primary MBTA bus line that serves Massachusetts Avenue in this stretch. So residents are afforded easy access to restaurants, coffee shops. In Porter Square, there's the Porter Square bookstore, which I'm fond of. There's a Star Market there as well. In Harvard Square, of course, there's all sorts of services and amenities, and the university. And so really, this neighborhood, the Baldwin neighborhood, is just so fortunate to be positioned between the two squares and to have the Broadway of Boston, if you will, Massachusetts Avenue, as the main artery connecting the two squares. So there's also some life along Beacon Street, bordering on Somerville, and another Star Market is found there. So really, you're surrounded on all sides by life and amenities, and yet when you're in the neighborhood, it feels pretty much like a place apart. And that brings me to my number 4 reason for loving this neighborhood, and that is that Harvard is very much a felt presence. So as we look here on the screen at the neighborhood, and this is an interactive map, there's a link in the description below beneath this video to this map, but you can see all of these crimson pins that define Harvard's presence in the Baldwin neighborhood. And in fact, when you see the tan on the map, that's telling you that Harvard owns the property. So you've got the Berkman Klein Center for Internet and Society, a Harvard Law School here at the corner of the neighborhood off Oxford. The Harvard Science Center sits down at the corner where Oxford Street meets Kirkland Street. The Center for European Studies is just up Kirkland Street. There's a number of museums positioned in this neighborhood off Oxford, the Museum of Natural History, You've got the Peabody Museum of Archaeology and Ethnology, the Harvard Museum of the Ancient Near East. So there's this group of museums that Harvard has in the neighborhood. The chemistry department and biology department is located here. Here's William James Hall, which is home to the psychology department. The Nieman Foundation for Journalism, which brings in journalists from all over the world for a year of study. I actually worked here briefly for a time. So, and then just above it is the Harvard Divinity School, and it's positioned back in the neighborhood at the end of Francis Avenue. So, wow. And there's more, there's all these additional buildings that are Harvard buildings. So Harvard is really a strong felt presence in the neighborhood. Harvard is a very felt strong presence in Cambridge, but especially so in this neighborhood, Baldwin, bordering on Harvard Square and the Yard, and home to all of these Harvard institutions. So, it has sort of a hushed air as you pass through this complex of Harvard buildings in the neighborhood. So it's one of the things that I really like about the Baldwin neighborhood. Number 3 on my list is that you'll find the Sacramento Field off Sacramento Street in the Baldwin neighborhood. And this field is tucked back from the street. You have to take a path pictured here from Sacramento Street to get to the field itself. And it's a real special place. Once you get there, you can see here it's this grassy expanse with a pathway around it. And there are, as you see here, some sitting areas. It's just this sort of place apart, tucked away. And right next to it is a urban garden where people have plots to maintain. And this is located closer to Sacramento Street. You can see the field beyond in the distance that's set back from the street. So, to have the garden adjacent to the field in this neighborhood is extra special. You can see the many lovingly maintained plots that neighbors care for here. And so the package of the two together is really special. As it happens, Sacramento Field has quite the history, and it was once upon a time home to a reservoir that was built in 1853 by the Somerville Dyeing and Bleaching Company, located at the present Conway Park in nearby Somerville. And they were pumping 100,000 gallons of water a day from the reservoir at what is now Sacramento Field. And the owners of the bleachery ultimately landscaped the reservoir and stocked it with fish. And here's a picture of it in the early 20s. And if you can believe it, they once harvested up to 1.5 tons of wine grapes from the property. Actually, this photo is from 1937 of the reservoir at what is now Sacramento Field. So there's some real history to the field. Number 2 on my list of 5 things I love about the Baldwin neighborhood is that the film Love Story was filmed in this neighborhood. The film was released on December 16th, 1970. That's actually my birthday, December 16th. And it's a love story, of course, hence the title, starring Ryan O'Neal and Ally McGraw as the lovers who live in the neighborhood on Oxford Street. And as you see here, this is a photo above of Oxford Street in 1970 as seen in Love Story, and then recreated by a Cambridge history volunteer in the shot beneath it of the street in modern times. So, back in 1970, before urban renewal, before cell phones, before computers, before gentrification, the neighborhood was a little bit more rough and ready. I mean, this is 50 plus years ago, of course. The film, made on a shoestring budget at the time of just over $2 million, ended up grossing in excess of $100 million, and basically saved Paramount Pictures from going under. So it was, as I understand it, the last time Harvard allowed a film to be made on campus. And it's my understanding as well that the director decided to film the shots of the neighborhood nearby just to save money. And so it's an interesting story of Eric Siegel's love story. Eric Siegel, the person whose book inspired the film, is a Harvard graduate. And it's great that in 2018, the film was re-released in a restored version, or maybe it was 2020, but there's a new print of the film that's been released, and I encourage you to go back and enjoy it again if it's been a while since you've seen the film, and if you haven't seen it, to be sure to check it out so you can see the neighborhood as it was then. And it's really exciting and fun that there is this history of the film being made in the Baldwin neighborhood. And then number one on my list of reasons that I love the Baldwin neighborhood is just the eclectic mix of interesting architecture found here. I am a residential real estate agent serving buyers and sellers over the last 20 plus years, and I've had the great good fortune to help a number of buyer and seller clients in this neighborhood. And it's just such a wonderful neighborhood. These are some pictures I've taken just to give you a flavor for how special this neighborhood is. And there are so many inviting side streets off Oxford, which runs through Baldwin neighborhood. And you get a good sense here. Picket fence, brick sidewalks, some beautiful trees, well-maintained mix of architecture, bright colors. It really is an extraordinary neighborhood. And it's one that you can imagine people are drawn to for all of the beautiful architecture and its proximity to Harvard and Porter Square. It's just really extra special. Love the colors here. This is on Garfield Street. Beautiful. Lovely lawn. So you get a good sense from these photos just how special the Baldwin neighborhood is. On my website, charlescherney.com, you can visit and see all the properties presently listed for sale in Cambridge and in the Baldwin neighborhood. As I make this video, I actually have an active listing in the Baldwin neighborhood, and you can contact me for more information about that offering and any others in the neighborhood. My name is Charles Cherney, and I'm a top residential real estate agent here to help you buy the right home or sell for the best price, and to discover and explore all the opportunities that present themselves in the Baldwin neighborhood or any of the other neighboring neighborhoods in Cambridge or neighboring Somerville. Reach out at any time by text, telephone, or email. I welcome the opportunity to connect with you and be of service. Take care.